Welcome to East Tennessee Pinball. Today's the day. I'm going to start this playfield swap. So you can see I have disconnected all the connectors that go down to the playfield. So I'm going to push that down through there and I'm going to grab this playfield. I'm going to take it in the other room so I can start disassembling this and moving parts. So I think I've got everything disassembled for this playfield. I think it will just come right out. But if you've ever pulled a block out of an engine, you really don't know if everything's disconnected until you start trying to lift on it. So I'm going to get Jane to help me. I'm going to start lifting this playfield up, and she's going to start helping with the wires and make sure I don't yank something loose. And we'll see if we can get it out of here. And this one, it's just got those little hinges there, so it just picks straight up. It's kind of a heavy playfield, but it's not too bad. So while Jane holds this, I'm going to disconnect the last little connector here. Oh, it was free actually. You just hung it up. Okay. So Jane just carried that in the other room and set it up for me. We'll be all good to go. This thing's very heavy actually. So.
Very heavy.
Okay. Well, here we go. Okay, so I got this playfield on the rotisserie. By the way, this is the heaviest playfield I've ever picked up before. Jesus. Anyway, I've got this side clamped in there. This one I'm going to have to take the skirt off for I can get some clamps and hold it on there. I may go ahead and put some screws in there too. Got another rotisserie over here for the new playfield. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to start with the bottom or the top. I think I'm going to probably start with the bottom of it. I've got most of the plastic you can see on this is going to be all new. I've got new main plastics, obviously new flippers, new pop bumpers. All the ramps are going to be new. New jaw for Rudy. So it's going to be a lot of work putting all that new plastics on there. But I think I'll start with the bottom side of it. Might as well. Anyway, this thing sure looks a lot better than the old one. And it's what's going to make this a lot easier than what would normally be for a playfield swap, because I'm using a used playfield. It's already got all the holes drilled in it. So, and by the way, I did do a 2-part clear on this and touched it up to a 2-part clear. There's another video on my website or on YouTube. If you check it out, you'll see how I did that. So I posted that a little over a month ago. Anyway, a month ago from when I'm filming this. I don't know when this will get posted. Anyway, so I'm going to dig into this, get the skirt off, get it mounted on here a little more securely. I'm going to flip this thing over and we'll start going from there. We start by talking a little bit about these 2 jack stands I've got. This is a kind of homebrew. I didn't design this thing. I did build it. There are designs for this, I think, on Pinside. It's all just black iron pipe fittings. So you got just a plat, and these are 34-inch fittings and a little T with a 1/2-inch pipe running through. Put a threaded rod in there so you can lock this thing down. Pretty functional, and you can build a whole frame for these, but I had these real nice jack stands anyway, so I just mounted it to 2x4s and bolt them to the 2x4s. This other one, I picked this up with some pins. I think it was like made for a planer. The planer sits in the middle of it, and these were like hold it, and the guy had modified it with these on here, which I really like this one. It's better, but for this job, I kind of needed 2 really to go back and forth, kind of help out, so I'm going to use both of them. So I get this playfield flipped upside down. There's a couple of different ways to do this. Well, at least a couple ways. So my plan here is I'm going to leave everything mostly soldered in place, and I'm going to unbolt everything, slide a piece of cardboard underneath this, take all the guts of this on the cardboard, place it over here. I got to rotate this over, lay it down, pull the cardboard out, and then re-bolt everything. That's not the way everybody did it. So the other way to do it is just like piece by piece. Say like this flipper mech here, desolder it, unbolt it, take the flipper mech, bolt it in. So basically take all the hardware, desolder each piece and move it individually, and then take the harness off and then reattach the harness on the other side. I'm not going to do it that way. And some people will go as far as taking the harness and put it in the dishwasher, or even just some soaky water. And I'm not going to immerse this in water. I don't really think it's a great idea. You get water that gets up inside the insulation, get wet, and you can get corrosion. don't really want to immerse this. I am going to wipe it down a little bit. It's pretty dirty. I've already wiped it a little bit. I'm going to wipe it some more. So we'll be doing quite a bit of cleaning as we go along. But I'm not going to take this and make the underside of this playfield look like new. And some people do that and they're really proud of it, and that's fine. But I'm not going to do that for this game. I'm going to make it the top side look as good as I can. I'm going to make the bottom side look much, much better, but it's not going to be pristine. I'm not going to run these wires to the dishwasher. A lot of people do that. A lot of people criticize them for that too. I'm kind of agnostic on the whole dishwasher thing, but I'm certainly not going to do it myself. So without further ado, I'm going to start taking this hardware apart and get after it. Fortunately, what's going to make this, like, one thing I already mentioned, that this is it's got all the holes in it because this is used one. The other thing is there's no ground braid for all the GI lights and the controlled lights, so that's missing from this one. It's not missing, it just wasn't designed that way. All these lights have 2 wires to each light, so don't have to worry about that. I mean, it's really going to just have to unbolt everything. So it's going to be, a whole bunch of machine screws, and this thing should just come right off. So I'm going to get after it here and, try to keep track of the hardware. A lot of this is very similar. And before I do anything, so I'm filming this video here, but I'm going to take a whole bunch of pictures. And kind of the way I do this is so I can find stuff later. I do like snap, 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 snap. So I go around in a circle. So if I'm looking for a certain place, when I'm scrolling through my pictures, I can sequence through them. And I try to keep my camera in the same orientation because, you end up taking 100 pictures or more. And if you're trying to find something like there in your pictures, it's frustrating. So I take a whole bunch of pictures. I do usually take some video also because sometimes you miss them. Take 1,000,000 pictures, and you probably will need 1,000,001. There's always one you miss, but take as many as you can, and then go from there. All right, I made some progress. I took out that many screws and that many screws. I've just been taking all the hex-headed stuff off mostly. That's the only thing I've taken off. Took Rudy's head off. All the wires to him unplug. So I take him off. He's sitting over here in pieces and parts. All the little specialty screws that are not hex-headed screws, I put them in their respective holes. These are larger, size 8 and everything, and those are little, probably 6. Those will hold his head on. So I'm trying to keep any oddball fittings with their respective parts. Most everything else here, these are kind of longer and shorter. So really everything I've taken off is just 2 types of fittings so far. I've got most of it up to here and some of this. So I just got to keep going, just kind of taking a break here. At some point I'm going to have to get some bigger sockets or nut drivers and get some of the rest of the stuff. Yeah, Rudy's head plugs in right there. I've been labeling, I've unplugged a few things. I've been labeling the plugs. So right there, I wrote a little 3 on the respective plug from Rudy. There should be one of these has actually it's this one here. It's got a 3. So, a week or 2 or 3, whenever I get around to getting this thing all plugged back in, I'm going to have a number for each one of these plugs because it can get confusing. I know that. I've been down that road before. So I'm just going to keep going and going and going. And really, I've only been like 30, 40 minutes probably so far. I probably have another, some of the pop bumpers are going to take longer. And some of this stuff I'm going to have to probably get to from the other side. There's a few of these wires, like that one. There's a little lamp, so I'm going to have to desolder some of this stuff. I think that's a little lamp underneath there. If I can see it, find it. Yeah, that little lamp there. So some of this stuff I'm going to have to desolder from the other side. Or snip it and resolder it from the back. Either way. I'll probably just desolder the lamp. And just keep going after it. This thing is the nastiest, but it's actually not Well, you can't really tell if it's cracked or not because it's so filthy. It could be cracked. Yeah, that piece right there is cracked for sure, but not seen a lot worse for sure. Anyway, I've got a new Subway. If anybody wants a pretty dirty, slightly cracked one, I've got one. I guess I'll put the phone down and get back to work here. All right, I'm mostly done getting all the screws out of this thing. I've got, geez, there's a ton of them. Still got the pop bumpers to take apart, but I'm about ready to, well, I got several things to desolder. The ball kick out, the little lamp here, a few things. And then I'm going to start sliding the cardboard under here. I'm probably find a few screws that I didn't get undone. Like there's one right there. Yep. And there's one right there. And there's one right there. Yeah, there are still a bunch of them left probably. I went through like 3 or 4 times and I'd find one more. But I'm ready to start putting the cardboard through there. Then I'll find the rest of them. Get this lid on the cardboard. And actually before I do that, I've got to put some of these locking nuts, the set T-lock nuts, I think is what they're called. Anyway, I've got pulled most of those came off of this board when I was working on it, so you can see, you pretty much see where they go because you can see the old impressions like that one and that one and that one and that one. So I'm going to get all those on here while I've got good access, and I also need to clean the back side of these inserts because they're pretty nasty. Do all that before I bring anything on here and get it all messed up, covered with stuff. So get this thing ready, do a little more work on here, then I'm going to slide the cardboard underneath there. But it's after 5, so I'm headed out of here for a pinball tournament tonight. One little lack of judgment here. I probably should have desoldered these stuff first because, well, I don't know. If I flip this thing all the way up, all this stuff's going to fall and hang. I'm going to kind of lose my positional orientation, and I really don't want that to happen. So I just kind of turn it halfway and I'm going to desolder. I guess if I didn't do that, I wouldn't know what had a connector. So you kind of got to do it this way, I suppose. But so yeah. Anyway, it's nice to have a turntable, a rotisserie. So I'm going to desolder this, that, and maybe that's all, and we'll go from there. So I got all these connectors undone, and I found another wire that I'm not actually sure what it goes to. I can't really see very well. I think maybe it's a lamp. I don't think there's any place where there'd be a switch in there, so I'm going to take the plastic off the other side, and hopefully it's just a lamp, and I'm going to either disconnect the lamp or dewire it, get that ready, and then after that, I think I'm ready to, I keep saying this, then I'm going to be ready. I just keep finding more crap. So I got where I could see, yeah, there's 2 of these, and these are either side of the optos for Rudy's mouth, so that when the ball comes up and hits Rudy in the face, this is the ball. These are the 2 optos that should beam across there, and when the ball intersects it, it sees it. So I really don't want to flip this thing over because everything's disconnected at this point. It's going to be hard to get in there and desolder it. With the game upside down, I'm about tempted to just snip both of these. And in fact, that one's about broken in too right there. I don't know if you can see that. I just noticed that. When I picked it up, my finger, it creased. So that'd be a good place to cut it because it needs to be fixed anyway. So yeah, based on that, I think I will. I'll snip these and snip those, label everything, and that way I can get this thing taken off and I can mount those on the other one, and then just reattach these when I'm reassembling, and that'll be a good fix. Well, I just got started putting this cardboard under here, and yeah, I got to this little lane diverter, I believe. Yeah, actually, yeah. And yeah, so there's a screw there I didn't get, and I'm also going to have to undo those 2 set screws because underneath there is a little gate that's got that gate right there has got to come out so that this thing can come off. And really, this is be better with a 2-person job. So I'm going to wait till Jane gets in here so she can kind of help push this cardboard as I kind of pick stuff up. I was telling her how I was going to do this. I haven't done this before. And I was like, yeah, we'll just slide the cardboard. And she's like laughing. Like, I was acting like this is going to be all easy. It's not going to be easy because you have not every inch forward, all this stuff, the whole thing has to slide back. And it's going to want to end up just in a big old wad at the end. So you have to keep moving this stuff as it goes. I ought to film this thing because it's going to be hilarious. And I'm going to try to not get it in a wad. That's the point, is to keep it in the same orientation so you can just put it on the other side. Or maybe I just let it get smashed into a wad, and when it pulls out, it would just unaccordion just perfectly on the new Playfield. That's probably the way it would work, right? I don't think so. But anyway, I'm gonna undo this, and I'm gonna stop. Jane's out having coffee with some friends, and she's gonna come in a little bit later. I'm gonna have her help me slide this underneath her. Hey, Jane has shown up, so I'm gonna put y'all in the stand so you can watch this, because this is gonna be. I'm gonna put it in fast mode. Maybe I'll put it at the Benny Hill music. Down. Okay, we're live. So that was about twice as much fun as I thought it was going to be. Got a little bit more wadded up than I'd hoped, but it's still kind of got its pieces are mostly where they should be. I'm gonna have to. I got plenty of pictures, but it's. I mean, like that is going to be somewhere near there, and that's a round piece. I know that one goes like right there. Some of these, that one's right there next to it, so that's probably that one there. But so it's gonna work out mostly okay. I've got all my T-nuts pounded back in. Jane cleaned up the inserts, so I'm about ready to go. So I'm having kind of a mid-Playfield crisis here. I wouldn't say crisis, I'm just having indecision. So just the more I look, the more stuff that needs to be replaced. Like that target there is pretty rounded off. There's supposed to be a little, not styrofoam, but neoprene kind of bumper on the back of there. Lots of little things, and I don't have all those in stock. That thing is absolutely filthy. I need to take that unmount that switch and put that whole thing in ultrasonic. There's lots of these little stainless steel parts throughout the game here. The flippers, obviously, they're going to have to be rebuilt. I got perfect access to them right here. On the other hand, the longer this thing sits on this piece of cardboard, all these wires will have an orgy tonight and over the next week or two, and they'll come back and they'll be, without touching it, they'll be worse. Things will be missing. It's just crazy. The longer it sits, the worse it gets. It's a magic how that works. It's like a box of ropes in it, and you pull them out 2 minutes later, and they're all knotted up. If you pull them out tomorrow, they're fine. Kind of like that. So I'm kind of thinking I should probably get this, at least as much as possible, mounted on here. Get some of it, the main stuff, bolted down. Get the flippers, put a couple of bolts in them just so they're in place. Get the main pieces and parts put down. I was going to swap all the bulbs while I was at it. Maybe I just won't bolt them down. I don't know. I'm kind of itching to get this thing in place as soon as I can before these wires start manipulating themselves into big knots and festering into oblivion. So it's next morning for me, so I'm going to had to work some other stuff yesterday afternoon. I'm going to take this garbage here and I'm going to pull this piece of cardboard, take it over here, and I'm going to slide it out. Everything's going to line up perfectly, and I'm going to get busy and start putting screws in. Like I said, I was thinking about fixing all this stuff before I screw it in, but I think I'm going to get at least a lot of it screwed in, at least some of the screws in, just to get it located, and then I'm going to start going through and fixing and repairing and cleaning everything up. just one big yank real fast. I had that instinct there for a second. Let's see what we got here. So I haven't touched it, so we can kind of see how well things are still lining up. I know that thing goes in that little round hole right there. The foam flippers, that one, I believe, yeah, it's going to line up well. There's a lamp underneath it. The flipper's going to go right there. And this flipper's, this is kind of out of place. That's going to go right there. That flipper is going to go right. All this stuff getting underneath it. Can't hold the film and hold the camera and film at the same time. That one goes right there. If I can get it in there, there we go. So that is probably. Well, this is gonna be fun. I'm gonna need both hands, but I can, once I get the big stuff in there, hopefully my idea is put a screw or two in some of this bigger stuff. And by getting the bigger stuff, then that will help align the rest of the harness to force the little stuff in place. And I'll probably have to go through the pictures to get some of the stuff done too. And but it's kind of in order. Like this third flipper, that should be pretty easy to locate. And these big light clusters, you know, those are going to be pretty easy to locate. I guess I'll just put you on the stand and y'all can watch me fumble here for a while. So that didn't take too long. I got it, well, I missed that one. That one goes right there. But you see, I mean, I've missed it, but it's pretty obvious where that one goes once I got that one done. And see, one of these is going to go, yeah, that one's going to go right, that one's going to go right there. And that one is going to go right there. It's all lining up pretty well. And you see that little, you can see the little imprint from the old little connector there, so that one's going to go right there. So it's kind of working. I mean, I've only done a little bit here, but I got a long ways to go. Some of this stuff I'm just kind of tacking in place, essentially, just because I know this thing's coming out again. I know that's coming out again. So the stuff that's coming out again, I'm just putting a couple of screws in, just kind of set it in place. So I got a lot of screws to put in. I mean, I got that many, plus a few more because they had some weird oddball screws. I'm gonna put in the right ones that go back in all these. So these are the little shorter ones. So anything that's got a little plastic fitting like that, or something that's not got the full, like, I don't know, 1/10 of an inch of steel, gets a short screw so you don't poke through. You gotta be a little bit careful. So I don't know, maybe I'll film some of this, more of this, and put it on fast. And I don't know if anybody will want to watch this. Kind of silly, but maybe I will. So here's the kind of stuff you go through in these games. You find not mistakes, but just hacks, kind of. I was like, "Where's that one for that?" And there's this one. And you see this big glob of hot glue. So I didn't notice this when I took it out, but that thing was hot glued in there. The problem with that situation right there is, you see how that bulb's just barely sticking up right there? It's supposed to stick up like the other side. Those two right there, these two are supposed to be the same, and it's not. So I'll replace that with the proper socket, so it sits down in there proper, or protrudes properly from the other side. But I'll save that for later. I'll just leave that for now, but maybe I'll throw some tape around it just so it's real obvious, and so I don't short out the first time I power this thing up if I haven't got back to it yet. But so this thing is coming together fairly well. That part right there, so that screw had it was a long screw, extra long screw, and had an offset. I went ahead and when I took it off that playfield, I went ahead and put that one there because I know that's where it went. I don't know what it goes to. I've got all this kind of stuff right here. Unless it's for that, maybe it was for that. That must be what it is. I bet that is what it is. Yep, that's got to be what it is. Because to put that down there, it would kind of put all those wires in a bind. Okay, so I just fixed my problem. So it's going to keep moving and moving and moving. I think I'll stop filming it for a while, and yeah. Well, it's been about 2.5 hours, and I got this whole thing put back together. I don't have like the parts that protrude through, like the slingshots. I don't have the bottom of the slingshots. Well, there's one I missed. Anyway, I've got most of it done anyway. Kind of like before, there's probably a few things, but I've got most of it bolted in, and I don't have it all completely bolted in like that flipper mech. I've only got 2 screws in there because that's going to come apart, and you got to pull this whole plate off to replace that bushing, so no point. But I've got it all located. I haven't even swapped this out. Like, just tons of work. So I'm going to have to drill out those rivets and re-rivet on the new one. This piece here, not only is it filthy and nasty, the bottom side of it, one of the welds is broken, so I'm either going to have to get that re-welded or buy a new one or the other. So this, I was like wondering where that one was, but I was smart because on this other side, when I pulled that out, I wrote lamp, right, that little hole right there. So I know that one goes right there. So that was a good call. And that says lamp. So I did do a few things right. The only thing that I made a mistake on when I was putting it together was I had this ramp on the other side I put this down first, and the ramp was on the other side of it. So my plan initially was to kind of get the big pieces, and I was kind of struggling with that, so I kind of changed mode, and I just started from the bottom and just worked way up, and that worked a lot better. And the easiest things to get started with, I found, were the switches, because they're really identifiable, because they're always slots, and those are easy to locate. The lamps were very easy to locate also. And once you get some of the stuff, the other stuff is like pretty much easy. It's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle. You know, if you get like on straight edges. That's the way I always did the jigsaw puzzle, do the straight edges, and then you can kind of do it, and it kind of just works its way up. And I did the whole thing without actually looking at a picture a single time. So, of course, I've still got to do all the work to all this stuff. Everything is like those spoons. I mean, I've just got that kind of tacked in just with a single screw. All the bulbs, lots of stuff to fix, but I feel comfortable now that I've got it in place, and I've got a nice platform here. So I think I'll probably go ahead and stop this video. Oh, stop this video here. One little error I made. So I desoldered this. I've got it labeled as the yellow condom. So that's the yellow condom light. There's light with it. It's got the little, that's what they call them, the little plastic rubber things go on there. I desoldered it, but it was actually had a plug on it. So I didn't need to, but I did. So I'll solder that one back onto that lamp when I flip this thing over. But anyway, I think I'll stop this here, and on the next video, I'll go through fixing all the crap on the bottom of this Playfield, and then maybe in the same one, I'll probably do a different one for the top side, because the top side is going to be a whole bunch more work. Yeah. I've still got, and I saw this earlier. Yeah, doesn't look factory. Those are just like Home Depot wood screws. I don't think that's stock. The way that's mounted. Yeah, this one doesn't even have those holes in there. I don't even know if that piece is. That's not it. I don't think that's a stock piece. Yeah, this whole thing was janky. Yeah, that's not right. So I think I've got that's either missing something or somebody improvised. I don't think that's quite right. Is that hole doesn't exist. Maybe they were having a hard time holding it down. They just added this extra one to keep it in place. I'm not sure. May need to find the correct part for this, because clearly there's no holes there. Yeah, I knew that hardware is not right, because that's just a regular old wood screw. You see how that just kind of, I mean, it was working apparently, but so that may be a little bit of an issue to try to find that sucker. Anyway, I'm gonna stop the video here. And if you like these videos, click like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one. Adios. So here's a little addendum. I was trying to figure all this out, and I realized that this piece here was part of this other piece that I taken off, and that's the reason why I had all this nonsense. Somebody had a pretty decent kind of hack to keep this thing in place. I mean, so that foot's still there. There's supposed to be a foot sticking off there that would screw in right there. And then obviously this edge here is supposed to be not in two parts, and that would hold it in place. And that's why they ended up having to put those two screws through there. So, you know, it was a decent field fix, you might say. But I'm going to either find a new one of these, or maybe find an old one, or take this to a weld shop and get it repaired. Have to put a little tab on that foot so you get it screwed in there. Anyway, fun. Well, good news. That bracket I was just pointing out is made and available. Marcos has it for 29 bucks. And this is the other piece that's busted. Basically on the back side there that's welded, and mine is broken. So this one's also available. I'm gonna call Steve up and see if he's got them, because his prices are always considerably cheaper. If he doesn't, I'll get it from here or maybe somewhere else, but I've got the number anyway. So it's good to know. Won't have to try to fix and repair those, because it's always a pain, and they're never going to be quite as good. Well, I shouldn't say that, but they're never going to look as nice. It'll be all discolored where you get them welded.